What's up, y'all? I feel obliged to make this video considering how much time and energy I've spent on investigating and thinking about this release. What we have here, in addition to our Fantastic Four The First Steps DVD, which Ryan Britt of Men's Journal called one of the best superhero movies of all time. We have the ABC by Fantastic Four by Puma blind blister pack release after 5 months. Now, I was hoping to feel excited, eager, anticipatory regarding this release, but unfortunately, the facts are this. ABC promoted this sneaker extensively on social media in the middle of July 2025. They opened up their alleged raffle around the last week of July 2025. Unlike every other sneaker raffle I've entered, this one required you to pay $200 upfront to enter. Then, according to ABC, if you lost, you would be refunded that $200 within 7 business days. So I entered and I won. Oh, and I should add, additional facts are this. You could enter as many times as you wanted, so long as you paid the $200 entry fee. Additionally, if you purchased, quote unquote, a Keystone t-shirt or any other ABC by Fantastic Four apparel item, you were guaranteed a win. Or perhaps I should say, your entry would be validated. I don't know what validated means, but I suspect that it means would be validated, determined, a winning entry. So I and others entered, many entered several times at $200 a pop, and then I won. My buddy won. Everybody won. To date, at least on Reddit and social media, no one can seem to identify a single losing entry. So, great, we won. Gonna get these sneakers. Except a month goes by, there's no sneakers. What we get is an email update from ABC that says, oh my gosh, all of the sneakers are in hand, but 2 of the character colorways are held up in customs. And because of the blind box nature, we don't even know which characters. And as you know, with this administration and tariffs and yada, 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 we just have no idea. And if you've ever dealt with customs, you know they don't give you any sort of timeline. So we have no idea when these 2 character colorways are going to be released. Okay. Sounds a little fishy, but okay. So then August rolls into September. September rolls into October. October rolls into November. And there are updates with no information, um, other than as soon as we get information from Puma, from Puma, from Puma, we'll pass it on. You know, in addition to being a sneakerhead, Pokemon trading card enthusiast, I'm also a lawyer. And I just got to thinking, along with my good buddy's encouragement, that something's off here. Firstly, it's early November. It's going on 4 months since we entered this raffle. Still no shoes. There's no photos. There's no fakes, reps, unauthorized version of these things anywhere. Um, a customs excuse, a finger pointing at Puma publicly. And so, you know, I say, okay, let's send some letters to ABC and Puma. Let's create a Google form survey to post in Reddit and see what people's experiences have been. Well, the results of that survey show that at least of the 20 that responded to me as of a couple weeks ago, I haven't checked today, no one lost. Several people tried to cancel their orders, which ABC refused. Several folks initiated chargebacks, and ABC's response, at least a couple of times, was to inform the individual attempting the chargeback that they may be engaged in credit card fraud and could run the risk of criminal prosecution, that they should withdraw or resend their chargeback to avoid that risk. And then additionally, according to screenshots of direct messages between ABC and those that responded to my survey, more directly pointing the finger at Puma as the reason that these things were so delayed. The analogy that ABC used was a cake being baked for a birthday party. And what ABC said, ABC consists, by the way, of its founders, Remington Guest, and his partner slash fiance, I'm not sure if she's his wife, Heather. What ABC said was, well, look, if you ask a friend to bake a cake for your birthday and they don't bring the cake, whose fault is it? Yeah, I don't know. Whose fault is it? So I sent some letters to ABC and Puma, and lawyers responded. The lawyer for ABC is Michael Lovitz. The lawyer for Puma is Peter Mafistrano. And Michael Lovitz confirmed after ABC's November 14th email that Puma had said the shoes have shipped. The shoes have shipped. Well, I thought the shoes had already shipped because they had arrived in customs and 2 characters were delayed, but we weren't releasing the others to maintain the integrity of the blind box. But now, in late November, according to lawyers for ABC and Puma, the shoes have shipped and they will be arriving shortly. I have to be honest, at the time I was skeptical because I hadn't seen any fakes, and I've dealt in sneakers long enough to know that you don't manufacture a shoe in an Asian country and not get a fake. But lo and behold, they shipped. And so, okay. Now, if memory serves, there were 7 character thematic colorways, 4 heroes, the Fantastic Four, and 3 villains. Um, to date, best I can tell, based on social media, Reddit, etc., only 2 characters have actually been delivered. The Thing, Mr. Fantastic. My buddy is convinced that I'm going to get the villain because I'm the lawyer that sent the letters that threatened the class action that still intends to proceed. Let's see. So there were 4 sleeves and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters. Doctor Doom, Quicksilver, Galactica, villains, The Thing, Human Torch, Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic, heroes. Here's one of the sleeves. Let's see if my buddy's right, or if I get, as I believe I will, Mr. Fantastic or The Thing. No, but the Invisible Woman. All right. Well, let's check them out. So, much like, the Air Force One Invisible Woman, the OG from Nike back in the day, we have a clear vinyl upper. We have a translucent midsole, an outsole, traditional Fantastic Four colors. It is sparkly. It has Sue Storm right here at the collar. It has, looks to be 2 pairs of laces in your blue and white. We've got the famous orb on the back. We've got the ABC branding on the red tag. You've got your Puma, I'll call it inverted swoosh. You've got Fantastic Four embroidering right here on the upper. What do I think? It's not bad. It's tough to wear a clear shoe for a couple of reasons. One, you've got to think you got to think ahead regarding your sock choice. 2, having worn quote unquote invisible shoes before, what I know happens is that your feet sweat and the condensation that results inside these shoes starts fogging up the invisible portions. But nonetheless, I think that this is a pretty good take on the Invisible Woman, Fantastic Four theme. You've got Sue Storm, or you've got the Invisible Woman on the tag. You've got Marvel ABC co-branding on the insole. I think if these would have arrived in any sort of timely fashion or with any sort of honest disclosure regarding the process the fact that for all intents and purposes, this looks much like a pre-order as opposed to a raffle. That's just an opinion. I don't know that to be fact. But, with all of the brouhaha, the sea of disgruntled customers, the 5 months it took to get this, the red flags that were raised really, every step of the way, even a nicely designed and constructed shoe becomes a disappointment. So, yeah. What happens next? Do I go away? Uh, well, like I said in my last response to Michael Lovitz, ABC's lawyer, for the moment, questions remain with respect to whether or not this was actually a raffle, whether or not there was any inventory on hand when these things were ordered, um, whether or not ABC's actions of veiled threats of criminal prosecution were appropriate. And these questions remain, and you know, I want answers. I think some other folks want answers, and I think it remains to be seen as to how these characters are ultimately released. Uh, I've seen now Invisible Woman, The Thing, and Mr. Fantastic. I'm waiting to see the others. So let's see. Thanks, y'all.